Hello, it's Jon Binnie and my dog Patch. My Pepper, and let me show you. He's on patch patrol, patrolling around, sniffing around. So we're actually out, not in the woods today. We are walking along the street. This is the first time I'm vlogging with my Osmo Pocket 3 camera. So that's an adventure. And I'd like to talk about themes of toxic spirituality, toxic positivity, and themes of integration and being grounded. And what a lovely way to do this, by walking on the street and vlogging at the same time. It feels very, very appropriate. So some of the toxic behaviors that we experience are almost a competitive nature and or behavior as part of human nature, where we're constantly trying to one up each other, or somehow state our progress, evolution, maturity by referencing things outside of us. For example, you might say, I'm amazing because I completed the 7,000 step meditation practice by Joe Blogs. And now I'm amazing, and yes, I have a 14 days Spirit Guide meditation challenge, and please do go ahead and complete that for free. I would say that you'll also hear people saying things like, well, I only meditate for 5 minutes a day, and someone might say, well, I only meditate for 10 minutes a day, or they might say I meditate for an hour a day, or 2 hours a day, or I meditate all day. Or, I've done 5 ayahuasca ceremonies, or I drink cacao every hour, or, I have a breathwork class every Monday, a yoga class every Tuesday, sound bath every Wednesday, and so on. It's not to dismiss the value of each of these things individually. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Well, I haven't tried ayahuasca, maybe even not even tried cacao, not in that form. So there's just something about our human nature where we find it easier to reference things outside of us as a way of implying or directly stating progress within us. And I love it when it's so refreshing when I connect with people, friends, other practitioners, clients, and ask them how they've been doing or what they've been up to, and they talk about the inside of themselves. They talk about, I've been facing some shadows and I just feel a lot lighter, and they describe the journey they went through, and you can hear and feel the lift in their energy. And all these things you can do outside of you, you can also do inside of you as well, right? And I feel it's really important to acknowledge, is that so much of this journey is about remembering and soul remembrance, and remembering from our higher aspects of ourselves. And a memory recall is bringing that into this life. It's bringing it into these now present moments and integrating it with your life. Another, I guess I call it a toxic behavior, or certainly an anti-pattern, or something that can cause you lots of challenges, are I describe it as this almost like an arms race of trying to learn new psychic abilities. And this is a trap I fell into in on the journey to my deepest, darkest shadow work in the summer of 2023. And back then I was just eating these psychic abilities like cookies. You know, oh, I can talk to your spirit guides. Oh, I can help you with your past lives. And just kept expanding, you know. I've opened my third eye. I've learned how to talk to the sun or to the earth. It's the list, it goes on and on and on. And whilst all those things are true, you know, when you first start to do anything, not just, you know, metaphysical, but physical in our lives, when you first start, you're never as good as you are later after you've been doing it for days, weeks, months, years. And, you know, for example, in the case of my spirit guides, I've been talking to them every day since November 2017. But the conversation started very, very limited, right? So when I first started talking to them, it would just be a word. And, you know, that's all it takes, right? Come on, Patch. He's reluctantly coming. He wants to stop and patrol something. On the journey of developing these abilities, they can start really, really simple. I remember some of my first experiences talking to my spirit guide Maya, and she did spend a good few days just in introduction mode. You know, I would see like some colors, and then I would hear in my heart, I would hear her whisper a word. One of her first words to me was her name, and she's just saying to me now. She said, she's saying one of the first things she actually said to me, whether I heard it or not, was "Hello, Star Child." I love that. I'm sure I've got some songs that I've written along those lines, or at least "Wake Up, Star Child," which is funny. And if you pause that ability for a moment and you say, you know, isn't that cool that there was this time in my life when I could get one word and you know, I could ask a question, and then I could hear that word from my guides, from my higher self, from the source of love of this universe. And when you reflect on the power of that, it's so important, right? Because imagine if you just asked a yes or no question, you know, you could pretty quickly begin to understand and get answers to significant wisdom and knowledge of the universe just through yeses and nos, right? And of course it took me a lot of practice. It might not take you as much practice, or it might take more. We're all unique, but it did take me a lot of practice to begin to have conversations. You know, I could just ask a question, listen to the answer, just like a guide is in the room, even be interrupted by them as you're talking. Rudely, how rude. And so if you think about those really, you know, early stages of developing an ability, isn't that so cool that you can just, you know, what if you just said to yourself, what if I'd said to myself at that point, you know what, I'm getting like one word answers. That's enough for me. At the time, it's enough for me to write a song about. You know, I'd get a word like I remember Love or Reborn or loads of my early songs in my first few albums were just one word or, you know, or a small number of words. And it was almost like I was asking the question, what subject will I write a song about today? And it was always relevant in that moment. It was always relevant for what was going on in my life, what was going on in the world at that time. I remember, you know, like the album I wrote, The World is Changing, just as the COVID lockdowns hit us. You know, these were all channeled messages at the time, and you know, sometimes they're predictive, sometimes they're a reflection of what was going on in our lives at that time. And when I pushed too hard, it became a very toxic experience. I became ungrounded. I found it really hard. I found it increasingly harder to function in this 3D reality, you know, including wandering around, vlogging. Let me flip you around as well. And I also found it increasingly difficult to teach other people what I was doing. In fact, in many respects, going through those experiences really helped me realize the importance of, you know, good teaching, if you like. You know, having these deep, dark experiences are really powerful because they help you understand what it's like when things go wrong, and perhaps also it helped me relate to people that struggle to develop their abilities. So I feel that's a big thing. It's quite funny because I've got face tracking on the camera, so I guess you'll always see my face at the same time. You might, apologies if you're just seeing up my nose. And yeah, I feel some of it's also about our expectations as well. You know, when we see people online, you might see me doing this, you know, who've been doing something for many years, and their abilities are very strong, that you want to be, you know, like that. You want to be able to do those same things. And it's hard, right? Because you think, I want to do what they're doing. They can fly. I want to fly too, and that's okay. I feel we're all equal and we all have our own superpowers. Just also give yourself the grace to integrate what you already have, and know that, just like the example of yes and no answers, if that's all you are able to yield, it's still an incredibly powerful gift. And really, the only limitations we have is not the number of psychic abilities or metaphysic abilities or superpowers that we create. We do create them as souls and humans. It's more about how many of those we can actually integrate. You know, using it safely, confidently, with clear intention, such as to help others. Being able to develop a practice around it to continue to feel into its uses and how you can create and innovate with it. And I feel that there's also, you know, one more negative or toxic side of our social media is some people have superpowers that don't translate as easily. They're not as not so much as suited to performances, if you like. And some people's styles are very much like that too. So if your style is much more go quiet for 10 minutes, perform incredibly deep and powerful work for your client, and then report back, you can often be, far more powerful and gifted than someone who is just talking a lot and showing off their capabilities. Come on, Patch. Patch is great fun. Always pulling. Maybe we could end our walk just going through the woods, Patch. That'd be nice. Let's go through here. Come, buddy. If I can get Patch in through the door. Saying good morning to the woods. So yeah, it's all a journey, right? And I feel that the more we can spend time in our lives being ourselves, being our whole selves, and practicing in our lives these new abilities that we're developing, including from our intuition, higher aspects of ourselves, and more, the more we can lead by example, the more we can I'm just thinking how I can lead by example just now in this moment, other than walking through the woods, vlogging. The more we can use these abilities day to day, the more we, can sustain a happy, healthy life. So let's ask, for example, I'm going to ask a tree, this tree over here in front of us, I'm going to ask it whether I should do one of my prediction style Q&A videos today. So I'm just going to ask it permission to connect with it. It says yes. So just going to ask the question, should I do a predictions and Q&A video today? The answer was a very strong yes. And just to keep it quite short, which is lovely, isn't it? Shorter than the hour. That'd be a lovely idea. Thank you, tree. I mean, you could say, oh, John, you could have asked your spirit guides or your higher self. Yeah, true. One other fun thing I love doing is integrating my psychic abilities just day to day. So sometimes when a loved one is chatting with me and then they can't remember something, or they're trying to finish a sentence, but oh, I'm on season something of my Netflix series, and I would just pause for a minute, take a breath, listen to my heart, and allow the answer to come in. And I'd just tell them, and they're like, "How did you know that?" I'd say, "I'm psychic." We're all psychic. So that's a lot of fun to do. I need a patch. And DIY, especially when there's things that I do it yourself, work in my home or camper van or caravan, there's always an opportunity to try these things, and when you're learning these new abilities physically, you can also spend a bit of time just feeling into asking your guides, your higher self, your gut, your intuition, what should I do? What should I do next? Is this a safe way to do it? Should I spend more time doing this or less time doing this? This way, Petch. You're a lot of fun today, Petch. So it's completely up to you what you take from today's video, whether you feel inspired to use your psychic abilities, for example, in your day-to-day life more, and your integration practices. You know, I feel a huge integration practice for me is time, talking about it, practicing it, nurturing it, talking to other people about it, trying things with clients or practice sessions, you know, trialing new services with people and just seeing how it feels. And the more you can bring it into your heart and ground it through your root chakra, the base of your spine, into the ground, the more real it all becomes and feels for you. And especially when I'm going through big upgrades, I'll also spend extra time resting, sleeping, napping. These are also really powerful practices you can do. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on today's fun walk. Hope the traffic noise wasn't too annoying, but yeah, let me know how you integrate your abilities, how you use your psychic capabilities. Please put it in the comments. All right, take care, sending love.